I've always been a social-driven character, and a theory of change is a tool with which you can prepare your social strategy to achieve
Mm-hmm.
certain outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And more than a tool, I like seeing it as a story. It's the story behind you as an organization to
Mm-hmm.
deliver on certain outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just as important to have the outcomes well defined as it is to have the issue well defined. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes social organizations are driven heavily by hunches, and that's very important. But it's also very important to have an evidence-based approach, and
Yeah.
building a theory of change
Mm-hmm.
with a solid issue definition allows you to also have the structure to
Mm-hmm.
measure the impact that you're having in the community.
Welcome. My name is Becky, and you're watching Accelerating Your Growth, the place to be to take your life and business to the next level. Today's guest is Pablo Gonzalez. Pablo is an active and collaborative economist, policy analyst, and social services designer. He has more than 10 years of experience as a strategist of social impact. Pablo is originally from Mexico and currently lives in Melbourne, Australia. He has a master's degree in public policy and management from Carnegie Mellon University, and in 2019 he was awarded with the Brenton Wright Scholarship by SIINSA, the Social Impact Investment Network of South Australia. In Australia, he co-founded Nova Smart Solutions and recently Brunswick Daily. Pablo's goal is to ideate strategies for a more equitable community, and he plans to lay the solid foundation for a community-driven social enterprise. And in this opportunity, he shares the information for us to learn about the theory of change and how this strategy can benefit you and your organization. Hello, Pablo, and welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, and thank you for accepting the invitation to participate. How are you?
Thank you, Becky. I'm very good, and I'm very happy to be part of this. And I'm looking forward to responding to I'm sure, very nice questions you have for me.
Yes, very easy. Don't worry, very easy question.
Okay.
Awesome. And I'm super glad that we were able to connect through the work that you did with SIINSA, the Social Impact Investment Network. Yeah, no, congratulations for the work that you did there. It really helped me with the things that I needed to do for them. So thank you for that too. The first question, Pablo, that I have is I saw through LinkedIn that you're going to facilitate an interactive webinar that is called Learning to Build a Theory of Change, a tool for an outcome-driven strategy on the 2nd of December. Why this topic is important for you?
Well, it has become more relevant for me for many reasons, but I guess that the most important for me is I've always been a social-driven character, and a theory of change is a tool with which you can prepare your social strategy to achieve
Mm-hmm.
certain outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And more than a tool, I like seeing it as a story. It's the story behind you as an organization to
Mm-hmm.
deliver on certain outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just as important to have the outcomes well defined as it is to have the issue well defined. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes social organizations are driven heavily by hunches, and that's very important. But it's also very important to have an evidence-based approach, and
Yeah.
building a theory of change
Mm-hmm.
with a solid issue definition allows you to also have the structure to
Mm-hmm.
measure the impact that you're having in the community. Um, I think it's also important because for many organizations, having a deconstructed um, tool that allows you to see or to visually capture how is it that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have, or how is it that you're going to impact the community it's very important. Sometimes social organizations are very clear on what they want to achieve, but
Hmm.
having it written down in words makes it very powerful.
Yes, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And would you say that that would be the main benefits for the participant? In if there is one person that is watching this conversation, what would you say to them for them to register? What would be the value after the webinar?
Yes, well, I think that the main value is being able to capture that story
Hmm.
and being able to tell that story to your own organization and to make sure
Hmm.
that everyone is aligned with what are the outcomes that you want to achieve. There's also another big component that this tool allows organizations, which is an efficient resource allocation. So organizations are able to say, okay, this is the issue we want to tackle. These are the outcomes that we want to achieve that will ultimately help us achieve or tackle that issue.
Yeah.
These are the activities. So, and the resources that we need. So I think resource allocation is very important for organizations who want to say, okay, instead of delivering the service or this kind of activities in a certain way to achieve those outcomes, we can also name those activities and allocate resources to each one of them. And not only that, but also having a clear definition of outcomes allows organizations to measure the impact. And that is very important because if you can tell by the way you have defined your outcomes and the issue you want to tackle, if you're actually getting there,
Hmm.
the theory of change brings a lot of value in that regard.
Totally, and that's well, that's amazing, right? To being able to use this tool, a strategy to tell the story and to feel good at the end when you achieve the goals that you have for your cause, for the community. That's excellent. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Pablo. Yeah,
Yes.
no, I like it.
No worries.
Um, in your LinkedIn, I read that you describe your skill set as rare and powerful in is this something that you plan like early on in life, or it just happened through the experiences through your jobs?
Yes, I remember when I wrote that description of myself.
Uh-huh.
What I wanted to say with those two words, rare and powerful, was that it's not very usual for the social sector to have an. It is getting more usual these days, but it's not that usual to have professionals working from uh, or working with certain credentials, which in my case are economics and public policy in the
Hmm.
social sector. Typically, you see people working with a professional background that it's more common to find people who are social workers or who are
Okay.
probably focused on more or on careers that were designed for the social sector specifically. So
Interesting.
for
Okay.
me, bringing economics to the social sector, I find it very rare and at the same time powerful. And I guess I didn't literally plan for this, but it did happen to me that when I first chose my career, I wanted to find something that was both or that had a combination of social, um, yeah, like a social approach to solve problems with numbers.
Hmm.
And economics was
Hmm.
the career that I found that fit the best for this purpose.
Hmm.
And to be completely honest, when I first studied economics, I wasn't 100% sure I was going to be able to apply those numerical skills.
Okay.
Um, but I came to Australia to do a master's degree on public policy,
Hmm.
and it was very interesting how that changed because I was able to see how economics can be used as a tool rather as a way of doing things.
Mhm. Interesting, and congratulations, because yeah, you do have like really relevant and powerful skills nowadays. And um, I wanted to ask you as well, now in 2020, like a really different, really challenging year, what would you say are a good skill set or one skill that a person should like have and apply to thrive this year and also moving forward?
Yes, I think that on top of whatever skill set that you have from your career or from your professional experience, I think the most powerful one these days is curiosity. So being able to wonder what is it that you can do that it's different given the current circumstances. Um, there are as many stories as people in the world in terms of how COVID impacted their lives. But I think that one thing in common is that everyone has to think differently about their world. So,
Mhm.
in my opinion, I think curiosity brings a very nice approach uh, to seeing what comes next because it allows you to be more flexible with what you have. So being curious allows you to expand
Mhm.
the possibilities of your future professional career, and I think curiosity also opens the doors for learning. So that's how I would summarize it. I don't know if that's too philosophical.
Philosophical. I think it's great, Pablo, because yeah, curiosity is powerful. As you said, it expands your knowledge. It gives you the opportunity to expand your knowledge. And nowadays, everything being so uncertain, at least we can explore, right, that new skill. Yeah, being a curious person. Thank you for that. And I love being curious, that's for sure too.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you. And the next question is, I can see that you have different and diverse roles as well, including volunteering experience and also being the co-founder of social driven organizations. If you can share like an event or a knowledge or the reason that motivate you to focus on social impact organizations and roles.
Yes, I think if I go back in time and place myself as a little child, I
Mhm.
think that my education was one of those drivers because I feel that many of the things that I do now are thanks to things I learned when I was younger. I used to volunteer my time to go to rural communities in Mexico, where I'm originally from,
Wow.
and
Mhm.
uh, and that always stayed with me. Like, how can I ensure that most of the people I'm around are having the best out of life, and that could be defined in so many ways. But I guess that similar opportunities or access uh, to the same resources, and again coming back, I think economics and public policy are a very powerful tool. Um, Two of the organizations that I started,
Mhm.
one is focused on measuring social impact. So
Mhm.
how is it that NGOs, not-for-profits,
Mhm.
government agencies are actually ensuring that they're having an impact on their community?
That's
And the other one
Nova.
is
That's
that's
Nova.
Nova Smart
Okay.
Solutions, yes.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And the other one was born in COVID times, and it's called Brunswick Daily.
Yeah. What's that
And
about, Pablo?
that one is what we want to do is we want to create a website through which we tell the stories about the community. Brunswick is the suburb I live in, in
Yeah.
Melbourne.
Mhm.
And through that storytelling process, we want to bring people together. That
Mhm.
has a spillover effect of, if we tell the story of a business, we can see that people get engaged with the people behind the business. So
Mhm.
they might come and buy a coffee from a coffee shop that now they know the story about.
Mhm.
Or we can share a story of a local who is willing to tell us what they went through if they migrated to Australia. And maybe that
Mhm.
can be a learning process for someone who just arrived, or for someone who is thinking how to solve certain things. So it's building community, uh, like engaging the community, and through that getting people to, or getting the local businesses to be stronger.
Mhm.
Um, and this is different because this is a social enterprise. Um, but going back to your question, I think that for both, I was very
Mhm.
motivated by my experience in the past, and I guess it brings me a lot of joy to work in these kinds of projects.
Mhm. And that's wonderful because that's what you want. I mean, you want to do something that you enjoy, that brings you joy for sure, and it brings value to others. So
Yes.
that's wonderful. Congratulations for that, Pablo. And for example, for someone that would like to focus on social causes, what would be your advice if they don't know how to start or where to start?
That's a very good question, and I think my recommendation would be, think about the things that you are uncomfortable with about the world,
Mm-hmm.
and think about future generations. What is it that you want them to be comfortable with? If you have
Mm-hmm.
children, or if you have or if you think about future generations, what is it that you would like them to be comfortable with? And I mean, is it the environment? Is it mental health? Is it physical health? Um, and how important it is to think ahead of ourselves in terms of uh, living a world that is better than it was. I feel that this is kind of a cliche, but I think it's also very evident these days, in which uncertainty has taken over, and in which it feels like we have a lot of influence of the things that can happen to us. So gaining that power back and saying, okay, it's in our hands to make a change. Well, you can probably define it thinking what makes you uncomfortable and what is it that you want to change.
Mhm. That's yeah, I like that, and I love also the gaining your power back because when we feel or we have that sense of power or maybe control that it is possible to make a change rather than that's it, the world is going mad and there's nothing that we can do. That doesn't really help for people
Yes.
to transform their lives and to make a change and a contribution. So yeah, no, that's very interesting as well. And we have one more question.
Okay.
The last
Shoot.
question. If you could pass some tips or bits of advice to the Pablo in January 2020, obviously before this pandemic, but knowing now, right, what happened during this year, what would you say to him?
Okay. So
Okay.
Pablo,
Uh-huh.
Pablo, you're about to go through a very different year in your life.
Mhm.
There's going to be a lot of introspection. You're going to be facing new challenges that you weren't expecting. And my old self might say, well, that's every year, isn't it? Um, to which I would respond, yes. But this one is going to be really, really different.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to be um, strong and think about that the decisions you make are the correct ones, and don't lose hope. Don't lose hope, because you will come out of this stronger, and the community will as well.
Yeah. Bravo, man.
Bravo.
Excellent, bravo. Excellent advice, and so true. I can relate to that totally, totally.
Yeah.
My old self will say the same, but that's every year. We have new
Yeah.
challenges. I love that. That's awesome. Thank you, Pablo.
Yeah.
And yeah,
No worries.
I really appreciate your time and your knowledge, your experience. I again invite everyone that is enjoying this interview to register for your interactive webinar, the 2nd of December.
Yep.
Where they can go to register, if you can share, or where is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, for the webinar, they can. We have a human ticks link, which I can share with you.
Yeah.
And I can share with you also my contact details. LinkedIn, I'm very comfortable being reached through that channel, or I can share with you my email as well.
Perfect. Yeah, if you pass me the information, I can put it at in the description, so they can register and also reach you if they have a further question. And
Absolutely.
all the best, and looking forward to connecting with you very soon as well. A big hug to
Me
Melbourne.
too.
Awesome. Thank you, Pablo.
Congratulations on the project, Vicky.
Thank you so much.